Welcome. That's like, are you ready? No? To rumble. Is that how he says it?
Yeah, but we're not rumbling.
Oh, no, we're not. No. But we're mincing words.
A little bit.
A little bit. Anyways, welcome to another 30 and Nerdy podcast for 30andnerdy.com. I'm Matt.
And I'm Gina.
And this is going to be our Sense8
podcast.
Our Sense8 podcast. Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. And before we begin, we're going to plug our own Etsy shop.
We're going to plug everything.
That's right. You can go to etsy.com/shop/30andnerdy with 30 spelled out. And we actually hand press buttons and sew awesome bags. And we've got Walking Dead stuff and Hello Kitty stuff and all sorts of cool stuff that we actually sew and handcraft and make by hand with our hands. We are the underpaid workers.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
If you want, you can also like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, catch us on YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr. I think that's it.
That's it.
Okay, yeah.
All those places.
All those places. Just search for us. You'll find us. We're everywhere we can possibly be.
That was our first advertisement. How'd it go?
It was okay.
Room for improvement,
absolutely.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah, we had to transition better into it. We just kind of said, "Bam, here it is."
Take this. Well, it's because we don't have a real sponsor yet.
Nope.
Let us know if you want to pay us to sponsor you. Wait, if you...
No.
Okay, anyways. Today we're going to talk about a Netflix original series called Sense8.
Yep.
It's even weird to say, isn't it?
Yeah, when you look at the name of it, it looks like it just says Sense8. But then as you watch it, you realize that that's what they have titled themselves, or I guess what they have been titled are Sense8s.
Right. So there's this, and we're going to do this proper this time. We're going to do like a full-on synopsis here when we get going. Yeah. Point being that the name of the show is spelled out SENSE number 8 without a space or anything like that.
Correct.
But in the show, there are characters called Sense8s, but it's spelled like SENSEATET. Yeah, like ATE at the end.
Yes, yeah. So it is an actual word that they use, not just something that they're trying to, I don't know, mold together. But
yeah. So before we go any further, what's this show about? It's on Netflix. It's only on Netflix. It's an original series.
Correct.
It is created by the Wakash. How do you say their name?
I thought it was Wachowski, but I guess I'm wrong.
No, you're right. It's what.
The Wachowski siblings?
Wachowski siblings. But
the
actually,
Wachowskis?
Yeah, now they're just the Wachowskis. Just
which is easier.
Everybody gets confused.
Yeah, I think it's easier just to say that.
It's Lana and Andy Wachowski. But it also says here that it was also created by a J. Michael Starzinski.
Sure.
Yeah. You, Mr. J. Michael, you helped create this also.
Yeah. So it's a 12-episode series, only one season. Currently on Netflix, was just released a couple of days ago.
So we're actually really, really current on this.
Yes, yeah, we binge watched it this weekend, which was awesome.
And we binge watched it not just so that we could do this awesome podcast, but because it ended up being really good.
Yes, so I guess when we were trying to figure out how to rate this with a 5-star Netflix scale, I said that I liked it.
You said you liked it, and liked it on the Netflix scale is only 3 stars.
Correct, and you said...
I was somewhere between really liked it and loved it.
Okay, oh yeah, that's right.
And I was like, why can't you give half-star ratings on Netflix? I think I'd give it a 4.5.
Okay, yeah, see, I liked it. I think I set my expectations a little too high, and so instead of ending up really liking it or loving it, I said, yeah, I liked it. Okay, if I could split it up, if I could say the first 6 episodes I liked, and the last 6 episodes I really liked. So if I could, I would give it like a 3.5. But yeah, I think I pumped myself up for it a little bit too much, and I was really excited. I was like reading all these articles about it and whatnot, and so it ended up still being a really good show. But I think I overhyped myself.
So before we just go full on into plot. A brief plot overview and talk about some of the characters and go even deeper into our likes and dislikes about the series and whatnot. We're saying that overall, if you have Netflix, definitely check it out. I would say for this, out of there's 12 episodes. I think the show does, you're right, it starts off a little bit cheesy. But that 4th episode with that song.
I don't know if it's... That was really odd, yeah.
Right. That was the moment where I was like, oh, this is really good.
I would
Why
have
am I
to-
starting to tear up? It's just a song, and it
Yeah.
was like that's what I was saying. That was funny too. Is that you were like, I liked it, 3.5 stars, and I'm like, Gina, the series had you in tears, like almost all of the like 8 episodes.
No,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't. But
Okay.
it was. It was okay. So, anyways, let's get back to the actual plot of it. So, it's about 8 individuals all around the world.
Yes.
And they are suddenly able to communicate with each other telepathically.
Yes.
And these people are placed in, like I said, they're sprinkled all over the world. So we have a cop in Chicago.
Let's see if we can do it. Yes.
We have a DJ in London.
Okay.
We have a bus driver in Nairobi.
Okay.
We have a CFO in Seoul. The chief financial.
What's the C? Oh, Chief
Yeah, Chief Financial
Wow.
in
Did
Seoul.
you look that up, or did you know what a CFO was?
No, I knew what it was.
Oh, okay.
I went to school. I paid attention in class.
You're so smart.
What else? We have the journalist, writer, blogger in San Francisco.
Wow. Okay.
Lito. Oh,
In
the
Mexico.
actor, the actor in Mexico City.
That's 6.
We have the hitman thug
Let's
in
call him-
Berlin.
He's a thief.
He's a thief. Okay, we'll call it the thief
Professional thief.
in Berlin.
Okay.
And
Who the heck are we missing? Oh, Sun. Oh, wait, no, she's
no,
CFO.
no, the pharmacist scientist in India.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Last but not least.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so we have those 8 characters, and then we also have Jonas, who is also a sensei, but he's not part of what they called their cluster. So their cluster has 8 individuals, and so these 8 individuals can speak and read each other's thoughts and emotions, and can kind of experience what the others are experiencing, and they don't know that that's what's happening. Some of them
Not at
think,
first.
not at
Well,
all.
not for a while,
and
actually.
so some of them think they're kind of going crazy.
Yeah.
Some of them think they're having hallucinations, they're having visions, they're daydreaming, they're a little tired. So they don't really realize what's going on because they have 2 different ways, I guess, of communicating with each other. They can
Right.
either actually share their own experiences and visions and acts, or they can just visit with one another.
Yes.
So they can actually just sit next to each other and talk and kind of be in 2 places at once, where they're experiencing these 2 different environments, where where each of them is.
Right. So the bus driver in Nairobi can suddenly, I guess if he chooses or if he's allowed to, he can be seeing through the police officer's eyes in Chicago.
Correct.
And the police officer can be seeing through his bus driving eyes in Nairobi.
Yep.
Or instead of seeing through that person's eyes, they can literally, well, I don't say literally, any of this, literally nothing.
yeah.
They can sort of like visit and be in that environment and talking to that person in that space.
And showing them around the environment. Like,
Yes,
here, have
yes.
some tea, or look out the window,
Yeah.
feel what snow feels like, So that was kind of interesting. I didn't realize it was going to be 2 different aspects of it, which I thought was really kind of cool. Like, it kind of threw me off, and I wasn't sure if I liked it at first, but then I was like, oh, well, that's actually kind of cool, because you can have them just around you as well. And so little by little, they start realizing that it's not just even one person and just randomly seen a person like in their apartment, but that there are several of them, and that they can, all of a sudden they'll be like, wow, I have a song stuck in my head, or all of a sudden, hey, I feel kind of sad, or I feel kind of happy, and they're not really sure why. It's because they're sharing these emotions with these other people in their cluster, which is kind of cool.
And I guess we said that, and I guess Netflix said this also, and I didn't realize this until a handful of episodes in, but it's a sci-fi drama.
Correct. Yes.
First and foremost, it's drama with a splash of sci-fi,
Yeah.
with an occasional pretty cool action scene kind of mixed in.
Exactly.
Because all of these people, so here's the thing. So I guess a story, well, I guess a story about 8 people kind of like interlinked through telepathy or some sort of psychic connection on itself is sort of interesting and has the potential to be really, really interesting. But these people are also being hunted.
Correct.
These people are being hunted on top of the fact that all of their lives, for the most part, are sort of in a constant state of flux and or turmoil or
Violence and danger. Even apart from being hunted, they
Yeah.
have their own kind of weird situations that are going on that each of them are also experiencing with each other. Like, oh my God, this person's trying to kill you. This person's
Right.
running after you. This person's trying to send you to prison or whatnot.
I wonder if we can do this real quick. Okay, so let's go through the list again. So the cop in Chicago, what was like his primary conflict? Just being a cop in
Being
Chicago?
in Southside Chicago.
Southside
yeah.
Chicago. Okay, police officer. Bus driver in Nairobi is dealing with the gangs over there in Kenya.
Yep.
And his mother is suffering from AIDS and he needs to get medicine for her.
Correct.
That's his day-to-day life. Oh my gosh, the DJ from London, who seems kind of like a simple character at first, ends up
Yes.
being one of the most complex ones out of all of them.
Absolutely.
So she's in London, but she's really from Iceland. And
I believe she's under some kind of curse that she was told about as a
gosh.
child. So
That
she thinks
go on, sorry.
She thinks she's responsible for the deaths of people in her family. So she keeps
Right.
kind of trying to stay on the run and not get close to people, but then ends up with like this dirtbag boyfriend who's into drugs and stealing and just she herself is a decent human being, but like the stuff going around her is just like it's like drawn to her.
and then when you find out later on, like what the core of kind of like her, I don't want to call her disturbed, but the core of what's ailing her mentally is pretty deep. And I guess maybe we'll spoil it later, but if you're still listening, despite the warning, like we don't need to go into it very deep right now. Okay, so we got those three. Okay, so who's next?
You got Seoul. We have a son in Seoul, Korea.
Son in Seoul. So she's CFO, also
of her father's business.
And her brother and her father have been horrible to her. Like beyond horrible to her whole life, especially ever since her mother died. But she's also training as a martial artist on the side.
Yes,
Which she has been her whole life.
Yes.
But so she gets into she's into like underground fighting and stuff like that.
Pit fight, that's awesome.
Pit fight, yeah, literally, she's a pit fighter. It's really cool. Okay, then who else do we have? We have San Francisco, the hacker, blogger, the hacktivist. Yes,
who's had her own run-ins with the law and now with her sexuality and once being a man, now being a woman.
Right, and then her family kind of. Her mother not being accepting of the, I don't know if you call it a transformation, I guess.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so wait, we just do 5?
And then we got the thief in Berlin, who's just a thief with a corrupt family and friends and area that he lives in. Just all over around. Terrible environment.
And we have the lady from India,
who seems to be the most, I guess, well
together.
balanced.
She's a pharmacist, but she has actually like a very loving family.
They're all supportive of her. She went to school. She's got her degree. She's a farmer or some kind of scientist that we know of. So,
but she's about to marry into a family that will make, like, her marriage will make her father and mother very, very proud of her. And the man that she's about to marry, like, him and his family are, I guess you could. I don't want to say they're progressive, but they're kind of. Their beliefs are the opposite of hers. They're very...
They don't really have beliefs. They are anti-religion.
Yeah, okay, that's a good way of putting it. They are anti... Yes, and so there's a big struggle there. Actually, it doesn't... And you have to see it. Her story was one of my favorites just because of all the footage that they filmed over there of like the wedding ceremony and
that's
just
so
the
funny
day-to-day
because
life.
She was probably one of the more withdrawn characters where her storyline was not in the limelight very much. And she didn't have one of the biggest conflicts, which is that's funny that you liked her. I liked her too. It's just like I liked her and the thief.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, and then we have Lito in Mexico,
who's an actor struggling to not be outed with his sexuality. He's a heartthrob. He's an action hero, and he feels that if his gay life and his partner are revealed, that he will lose all of that. So he's trying to keep that under wraps. So nothing necessarily violent. He doesn't have that kind of crazy violent background like some of our other characters, but just a very leading a dual life.
Did we do 7 or 8 of them?
Who are we missing?
I always do this wrong thing. And I also want to mention before I forget that the character of Jonas, who's sort of, he's the one who from time to time pops into these people's lives and tries to help train them and let them know what's going on whenever he can, because he's also being hunted. He's played by Naveen Andrews, who a lot of people will know as Saeed from Lost.
Heck yeah.
And he's also, the other thing that I loved him in, although it was like a brief role, was he was in, Robert Rodriguez's Grindhouse film. What the heck is it called?
Oh, I saw that. I've never seen it, so I don't know I don't know what role he played.
It's kind of cool seeing him in there. I don't know. We might have listed
I just love his accent. Like, London-born Indian man, so his accent's really awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Anyways, if that's not everybody, we did 7 or 8. I don't even remember.
Yeah, I think we touched upon all. Yeah.
Okay, so everybody's got craziness going on, and at some point in the storyline, and let me know if I'm going too fast or if you want to slow down or backpedal anywhere here, they find out that they're almost like an offshoot of like the human species. Like they're human, but they're more than human, and essentially there are people out there that know about the Sense8s. There are actually Sense8s that exist beyond this cluster, as they're known. And even if you're not part of like this cluster of 8, other sensates can still kind of like tap into other clusters, and they're kind of like a hive mind.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like a hive mind.
If you know who they are and you have that ability to like just go and pop up, because like sometimes they get visitors and they're like, "Who are you? I have no idea like what you are. I don't know how to control this," and it's kind of like this thing they have to learn to kind of just let happen. Like they're not aware. Like when it first happens, they're just seeing people, but they don't know that they're allowing it to happen. They don't know that they're controlling it, and so people are just kind of popping in and out of their lives at the best and sometimes worst of times. And they're just kind of like, how do we control this? And so it allows other sensates to kind of pop into their lives as well.
Yes. I think that what I was getting at is like how do you describe, like, do we even really fully understand why they're being hunted? Because they're being hunted by this other guy. I forget his name. There was like a main protagonist.
Who somehow has powers of his own. No, they don't think they explain at all why they're being hunted. Just that they're
being exterminated, sort of, because they're like this evolutionary branch that
like
non-sensates want destroyed. Because
they're lobotomized.
Okay,
they're kind of in a way, I guess. I don't know if that whatever procedure that's done to them kind of detaches them from their cluster so that they can no longer communicate with them. But there is a point where they say when you're unconscious, you can't speak with them. So if that part of their brain is turned off, I'm sure they're disconnecting them. But we don't know why. We don't know what kind of threat they are to whomever's hunting them. But the person who is, he has some kind of weird powers of it own. He's called Whispers. So his
name is Whispers, right?
Yeah, you see him in a couple of different episodes, in the very first episode actually, and he's got some kind of weird thing going on too. So I don't know what exactly how he's benefiting. If he's able to communicate with them, like what is he getting out of it? But I guess if they renew for season 2, we'll figure that out.
Yeah, I know. So it's like you've got humans, sensates, and then possibly on top of it, whatever Whispers is.
Yeah, he may not be the same thing. He's
got this weird, crazy, cool thing that they do where this character Whispers is kind of like middle-aged, oldish man, and like if he makes direct eye contact with any of the sensates, he can automatically see whatever they're seeing, be wherever they are mentally, and so it's kind of like he uses that to hunt them. And one of the things that I was really, really curious about was Jonas / Saeed, his character. So at some point Whispers made eye contact with him, some point in like Jonas's history, and so Whispers has been able like to be with him wherever he was forever. I just want to know, like, how did he live with that? How did Jonas just keep going after that point? Like, how do you can't hide. That guy's gonna look, he's gonna know where you're at, wherever you are. How do you run from that?
See, I think it was something recent, because in the very first episode, when you see Jonas with Angelica, who is another sensei you will meet in the first episode.
We should talk about her too.
And Whispers appears with her. Jonas can't see him. Whispers is talking to Angelica, and Angelica's telling Jonas he's here, and he's like, what is he telling you? He's not able to communicate with him at that point. So it must have been at some point later on when he was captured. So yeah, sorry, spoilers are coming up. I'm going to have to explain some of this stuff. But at some point later, when he's captured, when he's arrested, when somewhere in between those episodes is when he gets him.
Interesting.
Because he's not able to communicate with him in the very first episode. So yeah, because I can imagine that if he does, you can't live very long after that. Like, there's no way. He's either always in your mind, or you're always unconscious, or he has you. Like, I don't know how you can keep your sanity if you already got someone in your brain all the time. But so I'm gonna backpedal a little bit.
Yes, I want to also, actually. Okay, Where do you want to go?
Well, so we're talking about how they're being hunted, which doesn't happen until much later on in the series.
Okay, yeah.
So the first couple episodes are really focused on the turmoils that each sensate is facing and how they start helping each other.
As a person.
Exactly. So it's completely separate from the people who actually want to hurt them, and just kind of realizing that they have this ability to talk to other people and use each other's abilities. Mm-hmm. So we have like the Capheus in Nairobi.
He's the bus driver.
He's the bus driver.
His name's Capheus.
Yeah, Capheus. Yes.
Also known as Van Damme.
Van Damme.
As in Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, he idolizes Jean-Claude. He watches his movies. So like, he lives in a very gang-ridden area, and just everyday life is very difficult for him, getting to work, getting medicine for his mom, and just having to deal with these gangs who are constantly trying to steal money and food and resources from you. And so the cop with his sort of his gun skills, and the CFO from Seoul and her martial arts skills continually come to his rescue in certain areas. So like, I think it's just interesting that, so again, apart from being hunted, they're each constantly having to help each other. Like, they help the DJ when she's got these drug dealers coming after looking for money and drugs, and how again, it just it's a cop and I think the martial arts chick who come to save them, right? Okay.
And even, do you know the name of the lady from India? Do you remember her name? Kala. Like even her pharmaceutical knowledge comes into play at some point. So aside from like, oh, I'm about to get into a fist fight, like, son, come help me out, or the police officer man, whatever your name is, like, come help me disarm this guy, or stuff like that. It's also just kind of like, like their knowledge. They're more passive skills also, and everything, hacking and pharmaceuticals and things like that.
I think the only person that doesn't help anyone is Riley, the DJ from London. I don't think she actually helps anyone. Like, she's always the one kind of needing help or assistance.
Interesting. I never thought about that.
Until I think the very end, which we won't spoil too much, but like the very last episode, she actually does something, but she never visits anyone to help them, and her knowledge is not used for anything. So she's kind of like the weak link, I guess.
Although
I'm thinking about that, I'm like, I don't know how helpful she is.
It's her, well, think of it this way, it's her pretty amazing taste in music that kind of helps in a way kind of unite them over a couple. I know it's a stretch. But really without her, there's a couple times where she's just listening to music in her headphones and it's just like a really good song and everybody's listening to it and feeling inspired by it. And
okay, I'll give you that. That there are parts where she has her headphones on, you can, and other people are kind of like humming along to it. All right,
which is kind of funny also because her character is a DJ. Yes, so the fact that it's, okay,
all right. I'll give you that.
I actually, if you don't mind, I want to backpedal just a little bit more and just very briefly say, kind of like you were talking about, you had high expectations for the series. And I just remember, I don't know if I was on Twitter or probably IGN, and all of a sudden there was a trailer for this thing and I watched it and I was kind of like, it looks a little like it could either be really cheesy, but the concept's kind of cool. And so you went in with high expectations. I think I went in with like neutral. Oh man, I can't wait to, like I was excited for it also. And the first episode starts off a little bit cheesy with, what's her name? Angelica? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
With Angelica taking her own life. This happens in like 10 minutes. So
yeah,
spoilers.
Yeah, you see the first 10 minutes of the
and
episode.
Sort of like gives, she, however this works, she gives birth to their abilities and links them at this point in her life and stuff like that. And I forget if the camera, it was just like doing this weird, like gonna show everybody where they're at the moment they're sensate a bit, like the moment their birth is sensates and stuff like that. And I just remember feeling like, ew, this is...
It was pretty cheesy.
Weird, cheesy Hollywood.
And like her acting wasn't that great in it either. It was very much like...
It was overdramatic.
Absolutely.
Well, for a woman who was...
Being tormented, I
guess.
Being
tormented and going to kill herself. It was somehow it was managed to be overdramatic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so kind of like you were saying, like now going forward again, the first few episodes were definitely slow.
Yes.
And we figured out in those first few episodes, like, wow, this is a drama and not the action series that we thought it was going to be.
Exactly. With all the promotions and like the trailers and stuff, they make it seem like all those, oh man, they're gonna interrupt each other's thoughts and help each other fight and whatnot. And I thought it was gonna happen a lot more often. Like it did happen, and the scenes were great. I'll admit that. When it did,
some of the action scenes were awesome.
Yes, they were really great, especially when how seamlessly they intertwine the different characters in the same scene. How quickly they move them in and out of it. I thought that was great. I just thought it was gonna happen a lot more often. It doesn't. It doesn't start ramping up till again like the second half, the last 6 episodes, where the first 6, it does happen once in a while, but like it's so introductory where they're really just kind of showing that they can do it, but they're not sure about it. I feel like it does drag on a little bit, and I wish they would have kind of ramped up that a little bit sooner. I guess depending on if there are more episodes or whatnot, where they choose to go with it. But
yeah, because this is season 1.
Yeah, it was slow. I wish it had happened. They had more of those types of scenes, and even like the emotional scenes where like they're sharing their deep past and their thoughts and what really hurts them. Those were really awesome too.
Yes,
like where they're able to feel like the deaths of their family members and just like the traumatizing experience that they've been through, and like the bullying from one of them when Nomi's bullied and she's younger, and Lito's able to see that, and he starts like yelling and screaming at the kids that are bullying. Like those are amazing scenes, because you can tell that they're feeling it and they're seeing it and they're experiencing it with her. And those are just, I wish it had been filled with more of those.
Yeah.
So, or if I'm sorry, first episode, like maybe there had been more episodes and they would have been able to do it more, but then I would have said, oh, it was too long, they should have shortened it. So, and I'm sure it's a give and take. But
yeah, I argued that like despite the slowness in the beginning, that I felt like it was one of the things that made us really feel for these characters.
Okay.
Because I felt like the drama overall was really, really good. I appreciated that overall it was a story and sort of like stories about just kind of like you were saying, like being young and growing up sucks and kids sucks, but then later on in life, adults suck.
And adulthood sucks.
A lot of,
job
just
sucks.
like everything sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you have these people who are also having a sucky life, and you're like sharing, like literally sharing it with them, and not just having to tell them, "Oh, I had a bad day at work." Like you can let them feel it and see it for themselves. So
you got to imagine, like it's probably one of those shows because of the ensemble cast, and not ensemble in that everybody's like a well-known established actor, but just that there's so many different personality types. Yeah. Probably, I mean, I don't know, like I don't know anything about, being like a gay adult and things like that. But I felt like they portrayed all of these different things like very respectfully. Is that a right word for it? Like being how old did you say Leto is? It doesn't matter. Mid-30s,
Mid-30s probably.
Yeah, mid-30s, gay adult superstar in the action movie hero sense, not like a gay porn star or anything like that. In Mexico, to like Nomi being like transgendered. I don't know. I'd be curious to know how other people felt about these characters, because aside from what we were saying were like a few probably very pointless sex scenes where like I'm not like opposed to sex in movies or television or anything like that, but this series seemed to have like, okay, people are having sex now.
And again.
And there were like a couple like there's this one crazy scene where they're sort of, not all of them, but maybe like five of them are sharing like the same sexual encounter with each other and those partners they're with, and
they're
so
not sure exactly what, like all of a sudden they feel like intense and they feel like this arousal, but they're not sure what's happening, and all of a sudden they kind of feel something touching them and they're like not really sure.
And it almost turns into, if you count the partners that they're doing it with aside from each other, it's like this weird 8-person orgy thing that gets like really
which I
intense.
thought was the only necessary sex scene
like that was,
in this series, because you see that when people are feeling pleasure as well as pain and whatnot, like you are experiencing it, and if you can't control it, you're gonna wind up in that experience with them. Right. When like one of them's working out, he's at the gym and he's trying to work out, and all of a sudden he's like, whoa, what's going on? Like he's seeing things and he's feeling things, and he's just trying to focus, and he's got like these weights up, and he's like, I don't know what's going on. You can like the confusion in his eyes. And I felt like that was the only necessary sex scene. Maybe one other ones, but there were a lot that I was just I could have done without that.
Yeah, like for example, like early on, I don't know if it's the first episode or second episode, Nomi and what's the lady from Doctor Who? What was her character's name? Amanita. Like, okay, so they're doing it early on in the series. Yes. And when they're done, Amanita, I think it's her, like takes off this strap-on dildo.
Yeah.
We'll be adults about this. and
then giggle afterwards.
Do they giggle?
No, you just giggled.
That was because I was coughing. Excuse me. Anyways, and it thunks to the floor, and it's dripping with sex juices and stuff like that. And I'm like, really? Did it need to thunk to the floor dripping wet? Like, was that really necessary?
Yeah, I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah. And so I guess, maybe the big orgy scene later makes sense in the context of like a lot of these other people are sexual in their lives and stuff like that. But I just felt like, I don't know.
There were a couple that probably didn't need to be in there. Yeah. But
I mean, aside from us kind of griping about that, maybe we're just a boring married couple now. I don't know. Who knows?
Maybe.
I don't know. Was there anything else that you said? It was slow in the beginning, some sort of pointless sex scenes. Anything else that really rubbed you the wrong way? A lack of action compared to what you thought? Oh, and then answer that, and then I got to go on about the action one more time.
No, I think that That was it. But again, that was my own expectation.
Right.
It being, it's going to be intense the entire time.
Right.
And it's, and I realized I had read the synopsis that said it's a sci-fi drama beforehand, not a sci-fi action series,
Okay.
And for some reason, I just didn't prepare myself for it. So that's my own fault. But other than that, I thought it was really well done. That was a great show.
In the trailer for the series, and I'm sure there's many trailers, and in one of the first ones that I saw, I remember specifically seeing a scene. It was like the slow motion shot of Leto's character walking through a church with pistols in his hands, and then there's a scene, bloody, and then there's a scene where I think he's like diving and he's shooting, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the Wachowskis, whatever their names, they're bringing back bullet time from the Matrix and like crazy stuff or whatever, and so you get to that scene in this where he's walking through the church, and it's like this 3/4 shot. Anyways,
the nun comes up to him running. Please,
and it's all and it's super cheesy, and I was about to be rubbed the wrong way by it, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, it's like one of those scenes. The director yells, "All right, cut!" And then you realize for the first time, that like, oh wow, he's a film star.
Yes, exactly.
And I totally didn't see it coming.
And that makes up for it, because
I was really happy that that's what it ended up being.
You totally understand why it's so cheesy and like why it's so bad, and like the gun plays and everything's blowing up and stuff, and it's like, oh okay, and it fits his character.
Yeah,
like that role, that character is just amazing.
He did such a good job.
Absolutely, I loved it.
What was his name? Hang on, I'm gonna look it up real quick.
His real name?
What was Leto's real name? He's one of the
Miguel
first credits
Silvestre,
on here.
I think. Miguel Angel
Silvestre. Sylvester? Oh, Silvestre?
I guess.
He played Leto, man. That guy was awesome.
Yeah, he was really. Oh man, the way he has to act when he's acting in it is great. When he has to like try to get information, when he has to try to work with the rest of his team, and he's like being smooth and charming. Oh man, I loved him. I loved his character.
One of the other things that I really, really dug about this series, and I'm always watchful for, like having grown up in the Chicagoland area, and I went to college in Chicago and stuff like that. Anytime anything's filmed in Chicago, now that we live in LA, it's like I look for that establishing city shot. Like, okay, you guys sent a helicopter out to Chicago.
The skyline.
Yeah, the skyline's there. And then I'm looking for, okay, what's really filmed in LA that other people not from Chicago don't know is just LA,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I always look to see where they cut corners and stuff like that. But then the more you watch the Chicago scenes, at least, well, maybe you too, but me specifically, I'm like, oh no, they got the tracks there and the trains there and the streets and the buildings. And I'm like, holy crap, they really did film this part in Chicago. They really did film. I mean, I can't speak for everywhere, but India looked like India,
No, they did.
Nairobi,
they shot on location.
Yeah, and all these places around the world.
Yeah, it took like 7 months to do, 8 different countries? 9 different countries? 8 different countries.
Gosh, that's a really long shoot also.
Yeah. Now that you're mentioning, like, I don't know how you could fake LA for Chicago.
Well,
I don't know how you could do that.
You know what it is? When I finished up some of my school out here, one of the things that, like when I was taking the producing classes and stuff like that they openly admitted, they said in LA, there's approximately half of a block or 1 block somewhere downtown where if you film from this angle at this building, it could look like the exterior shot of like a building in Chicago. And so anyways, there's certain areas in LA. There's a couple of them. There's
probably like 2 blocks.
There's a couple of them that kind of give a Chicago vibe a little bit.
Fire escapes and stuff?
And so sometimes they'll use those, and then sometimes they'll, just like build Chicago looking sets in like the back lots of like the studios and stuff like that. But it's really, really hard for them.
I was going to say, I don't see any way how that would happen. Like, now that I've been there and seen it, I'm like, no, Chicago's a city. LA is cool, but Chicago's like a city. Like, I can't.
It's Gotham City.
Like, if LA looked more like that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, it doesn't. There's no way.
So I was just, I don't know. It made me really happy that they went there, and then apparently all these other
you see,
places
like the
also.
L and the B. I know what that is. So.
You know what makes me wonder too? Then is kind of, and I'm sure this is in the credits of all the episodes and whatnot. Okay, so you know how like films, depending on how big the production is, they'll have like the primary director and like crew, and then they'll have like second unit and third unit and stuff like that. It makes me wonder if this series had 8 units,
Oh, wow.
8 units. Obviously a massive pre-production schedule, I'd imagine, so that everybody's filming with like the, same techniques and and filters and, lenses and things like that to give it, a consistent look and whatnot. Because, I mean, they could have done half that. There could have been 4 units. Each unit was responsible for like 2 different, areas and stuff like that. But that's one of the things that impresses me about this show is just how big it is. And despite some of its minor flaws and the things that we've already griped about, it just comes together really, really well. And there's so many shots where multiple people are together in the same scene, and
they're different environments as well. That they cut seamlessly
they
together.
Cut seamlessly between environments, and we always say like, oh my God, it's crazy how they might have filmed this other scene 4 months from when, so we'll say Chicago to Nairobi, when those two, when was it Capheus?
Capheus, yeah.
Capheus and whatever the cop's name is, like those two are talking, and yeah, you're right. Like 1 minute they're in Nairobi, next minute they're in Chicago, and they might have filmed like those 2 scenes with them together in the different environments 4 months apart from each other, but they did a good job of making it look like the conversation, the tone of the conversation is seamless.
Yep.
And I don't know if oh my gosh, if there's ever like a massive behind the scenes featurette on this,
that would be awesome.
Or a documentary or something, I would love to watch it because I'm really impressed with it.
I was reading some of like the actor comments and just stories and whatnot, how they were saying like, yeah, you would have to shoot the same scene 3 or 4 times in 3 or 4 different places, because sometimes you had the scenes where it's 3 or 4 different, the Sense8s all combining in one, fell swoop to help somebody or whatnot, and you're having to film it several different times over the course of 7 months. I'm like, that is so incredible. Like how to like literally just kind of stay in character or stay in that scene. Like you said, like there were times when I was tearing up because there are really emotional scenes, and like to have to go back to that emotional scene. Okay, remember when you were crying in scene 3 in this part in this building, right? You're back there again, and it's 2 months later. It's like it's insane. It's incredible. It just really kind of shows you like the quality of the actors and the sets and the directors. I thought it was incredible. Yeah.
And some of it, to be fair, might have been movie magic. Like I wonder if you're planning, it's really hot in here right now. Huh? We live in LA. We have to turn the AC off when we record this, or else the podcast sounds crummy. So we're just we're sitting here sweating right now. Movie magic. What I'm talking about.
9:30 at night.
Like so, imagine that they're filming. We'll just keep going with Chicago, Nairobi. For the sake of it. I wonder if they green screened some of it. Like if they'd had to. Like for example, they filmed the scene of 2 characters talking together in Chicago. Maybe that night or heck that afternoon, with the power of Dropbox and however they're going to send the footage from one place to another. I wonder if in that same day, we'll say second unit in Chicago can get footage of what was shot in Nairobi and say, this is how we filmed it, this is the lighting and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And then they film against a green screen in Nairobi, the other person talking to the other character who's not really there. I wonder if they can probably do stuff like that.
They can. I wondered that a lot, but I knew specifically beforehand, like, and I had read about like how they filmed and stuff, and I didn't want to nitpick. I tried purposely not to look for like the
lighting
green screen,
inconsistencies or things like that.
The green screen glow and the outline, because I was like, that would like, I don't want to notice that because it's gonna ruin it for me. And so I was just like, just suspension of disbelief, just watch it, just believe it. Don't try to analyze it. Where I think normally I would have been like, no, how did they do that? And it's just like I wanted to just let it go, and so I didn't notice anything, but I tried to just let it, just watch it and enjoy it and not nitpick about it. But I'm assuming they could, but because you're in so many different places already, it's like, why do that?
Why nitpick it?
Why cut corners when you have the location, when you have the actors there, when you have that lighting? It's like I'm sure that there were times when it had to be just because of shots that didn't come out right, lines that didn't come out right. But for the most part, if they didn't just take advantage of those scenes, that would kind of suck. Like, it would defeat the purpose of going around the world and doing all that.
Right.
But anyways, do you have anything else for that?
Not really for that part of it.
There's one thing I really liked as well that I wanted to mention about.
Go for it.
When the characters are first meeting each other, this whole series is in English. But when some of the characters are first speaking with each other, they're speaking in like their native tongue. So like when the Indian woman Kala and the German guy Wolfgang, they're talking to their friends and everything in English, so you're fully understanding. But when they hear each other, he's speaking in German and she's speaking in Hindu, and they understand each other. Yeah. And she's like, "Do you speak Hindu?" He's like, "No." "Do you speak German?" "No." But we understand each other. And I think that's awesome. I loved it because like obviously shoot native languages for all the rest of the scenes, I guess, just to make it easier for the audience. But when they're doing that and it's subtitled, and you can see, speaking, and they're you hear Hindu and then you hear German, and they're just seamlessly communicating with each other, and they don't know what's going on. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant.
It was really cool. Yeah, I agree. That was okay. So despite the brilliance of that, one of the other things that we were kind of like, man, I wish they wouldn't have done this, was just the whole concept of people in India, people in South Korea, people in Germany, and they're talking and they're speaking English, right?
With their accents.
So are we, I guess the one thing I didn't think about was, like, are we led to believe that, like, no, in this universe they are speaking, German and Korean and all these other things, but, like, we as the audience kind of hear it in English the same way they can just understand each other's translations? Is that what it was supposed to be?
That's what I took it. That's exactly what I took it as, because there's even the scene with Sun and Capheus where she's asking him, do you speak Korean? And he's like, no. Do you speak Swahili? And yet they're communicating. So I took it as that, like, in their own little weird way, we're getting it translated just for us, but they are speaking their native tongues because there are a lot of other times when the dialogue isn't necessarily important, and you'll hear, chattering in Swahili, speaking in Korean, so when that dialogue is not important, the other characters in the background, they are still speaking those languages. So yeah, I would not have minded reading subtitles for everybody.
That was the thing. I wish they would have done it. That's what I would have wanted.
Most Americans would. Well, I think that's what the issue is. That, like, I thought it would have been awesome. Because, like, you hear, like, Leto speaking Spanish and then Sun speaking Korean and then Kala speaking Hindi. That would have been freaking amazing. And they're all just communicating.
I would have loved to read subtitles for, like, 99% of this series.
Yeah, but, I mean, it still worked. It didn't ruin anything for me. I kind of expected that's how... Once you started realizing that's what they're, how they're communicating, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I see what they mean. But... yeah, I would have preferred it. Didn't happen. I still enjoyed it anyways.
Me too. So favorite characters, favorite moments?
Oh, man. Favorite characters. Okay, give me a second. You should go first.
I would say, well, okay, so we got 8 characters, and I forced us the other night to pick a top 3.
So this will be spoilers, I guess, for some of the stuff that happens in the series, because my characters, I really, really like Kala and Wolfgang.
And their romance?
And
it was really sweet.
Cute.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like, Will and Riley end up having their own romance, but I really, really liked Colin Wilkins. They were not.
Will was the cop's name.
Will was the cop.
Oh, I kept calling him the cop.
Yeah.
All right.
So their story takes precedence in the last couple episodes, where they really are kind of the main focus, along with Nomi. So Colin Wolfgang, their stories are there. They do help out, but they are not in the limelight. They are very much secondary characters in those, like, later episodes. But their story is just, I don't know what I think from the moment, like you said, like that 4th episode when they're singing, hey.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that you see, like, they're all singing with each other because they all have the songs, like, in their head. But there's that scene with the two of them when they're like, hey. And I don't know, that moment, I was just like, oh my God, those two are so great together. Yeah. Like, I loved them.
Yeah. So. Like, just to see her so iffy and unsure about this man that she's supposed to marry, and just questioning it all, and
it's not an arranged marriage. This is a marriage where she has a choice.
It's supposed to be love.
Yes. And there's nothing wrong with the gentleman.
No, he's a really nice guy.
Yeah, he's fun. Yeah. He seems to really care about her.
He's head over heels for her.
Yes. He loves her. Everybody all the women are in love with him. Yeah. Everyone thinks he's great. All the guys want to be his friend, but she just doesn't love him. But her parents are so happy that she got proposed to by this amazing father, son of the head of the company, very well off, very educated family. Yeah. She's going to be taken care of, and they're so happy for her, and she doesn't want to let them down. That's that her family, her obligation that she feels. And when you see how she looks at him and how she meets, like, oh my God, there's this white dude, and it's like he's speaking German, and it's like, this is interesting. This is different for her, and I thought it was so cute. I loved it.
She did get to look down at his penis.
Several times, I think.
Several times.
Yeah, because
the Germans. Think she was impressed?
Because the Germans aren't. What did he say? They're not so concerned about the nude as everybody
else. Yeah, no,
they
swim naked and
he sleeps naked, and he just walks around naked a lot.
Yeah.
So, and you see him naked.
You
very,
see him,
very
you do,
naked.
You do.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? We see the female body nude and exposed in a lot of different things. It was a very interesting change to see the male anatomy in all of its glory for a change, right?
And not in any kind of perverse way.
No, it wasn't sexual in those moments or anything like that.
Which I was very grateful for. It was just kind of like, there it is. He's just kind of there. And I was like, all right.
Is that the difference between, I don't want to say art and pornography, but the fact that his penis was flaccid and they could just show him while he's relaxing, in like the pool or swimming or wherever it was, or in a bathtub or wherever it was that we saw it. The fact that it's just there, just hanging out, makes it not sexual. But the second that it's actually an erect penis, is that when they can't show it, or it becomes, or could they? I don't even know what Netflix's rules are, or ratings, or things like that.
I don't think that would be an issue. I think it's when it actually becomes a sexual act. But I think if like he himself, like it was, I don't think that would have mattered.
Okay, interesting.
But, because the character himself was very just nonchalant about it. He's just like, we're okay with it. We don't care. So
okay. I was going to say, I'm going to make you pick your third character in a moment here, but before I forget, what I was going to say was there's a character, I don't remember her name. There's another Sense8 that is introduced later who is not part of this primary cluster. Ursa, you are so good at that.
Heck yeah.
And she says something about how kind of like, she says either love or romance or both within a cluster. She describes it as being narcissistic.
And pathological.
And she mentioned that maybe once or twice, but they never really go into it too deeply, like what is at risk from this, from falling in love with essentially yourself, sort of.
Kind of. I would think maybe just the emotional and mental stress it puts on you if you're not together. Like if you decide, I'm going to break up with this person, and you can share the next intimate details that they have with somebody else in that closeness. I can imagine the craziness, the mental stress that would put on you, having to experience their lives still with someone else, or whatever hatred or bitterness or anger or jealousy you feel towards that person. But yeah, you're right. They didn't exactly say why.
I wonder if a Sense8 falls in love with another Sense8 in its own cluster. So essentially falling in love with yourself in a way is the best way to maybe describe it in layman's terms. Like, can you like when people are in relationships with each other and whatnot, I feel like, one of the things that starts to drive people apart or maybe causes conflict and stuff like that is like one partner saying to another partner, or a therapist or something like that, like, they just don't understand me.
They don't
we're
listen.
too different. Yeah, they don't listen. Like, you will never have that problem.
You will know every single thought in their mind. You will know whether they're lying to you or they're telling the truth.
So if you're being compassionate and you're fulfilling one another intimately and things like that, like, really, what more could you want?
Yeah, seriously.
Why would you ever break up? I mean, I'm sure
maybe you need that alone time. You need that me time. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want you to know what I'm thinking. But
I do imagine, though, that after falling in love with yourself in a Sense8 cluster, yourself, whatever, somebody else, that if something happens to that person, like if there is a death or something like that, I bet you that the devastation you feel from that is astronomical compared to if it was just a normal death, which is supposedly puts everybody through an astronomical amount of pain as it is, but multiplying that when like love is a factor,
Ursa specifically says that. She says in her cluster, when the first person dies, she says she thought she wouldn't make it. She says she thought she could not live. She wanted to die because of the pain, because you're not only feeling this closest of somebody, you're feeling them die. Yeah. You're feeling whatever pain they're going through, whatever loss of oxygen, whatever panic they're feeling, you are dying, in a sense, with them. And I can imagine that's just make you go crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so who are your three?
Leto? In no particular order.
Okay.
Leto
the actor.
Oh, darn it. I think I had this. I also, and I don't think I picked this the other night, I really liked Wolfgang.
Yeah.
There was something, I love that his family was so dark and twisted and messed up and part of this like criminal underground and stuff like that. And he still, like, he knew that it was just
stupid and wrong.
Yeah, and horrible. And
I liked
his
Felix, his best friend Felix. Yeah,
you say a really cool story. And what was the name of the cop you said? It was Will? I really liked him. I don't know if it was the Chicago in me, that like really resonated, but I really liked how he was just open to the experience, and he got caught by his partner time and time again,
doing weird stuff,
kissing people that weren't there, like holding up his arms, like he's making out with somebody who's there, and like, it was just kind of like very open about something weird's going on and the experience and stuff like that. And I just thought it was he just had one of those personalities. Like, what was it? Was there a scene where he was talking to like a psychiatrist or something, and the psychiatrist was explaining that like certain personality types always try to like fix people and help things and put
Be
them,
their savior.
yeah, be people's saviors and stuff like that. And he really was in a lot of scenarios in this. Like, he helped so many people through so many different problems, from like picking locks on handcuffs to,
And he's got a backstory we're not even completely aware of yet either.
He's the one with the girl, right?
Yeah, he's got stuff going on that we have not fully understood yet. They never went back to it. They alluded to it a lot, and they went back to it a couple times in the episodes. But there's stuff about his childhood that maybe it was him tapping into his abilities much earlier, which I'm assuming.
That'd be weird, because that would be before What's-Her-Head gave birth to his abilities, right?
I don't
Like, he had a psychic link with the little girl. Well, didn't she?
Much, yeah. So something's going on there that hopefully when it's renewed they'll touch base with. But I want to get more into what's going on with him.
So I just liked him. I liked his banter with his partner. I liked kind of like his developing romance with Riley. It kind of out of nowhere, but like I said, like, how can you?
See, I totally saw it coming.
Oh, you saw it coming?
When they were the first ones that each other saw and visited, I was like, oh yeah, they're gonna fall.
Yeah, I guess that totally makes sense. So those are probably my three. Who's your third?
Oh man.
How can you not pick Leto?
I know. It's either Leto or Sun.
Sun was awesome, too.
Yeah, because she was just...
And
I like how she eventually goes to prison for a crime her brother committed that her father asked her to take the fall for.
Yeah.
Just to save the company. And I'm like, oh, man. And then when she does, she goes to prison. She admits she does what's right because her mother asked her to take care of her brother. So she's like, you know what, I'm going to go. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do what I promised my mom. And she helps the people there in prison, and they love her and they support her. And she's doing good there. I think she feels better there in prison than she ever did outside.
Yeah.
And when she gets the chance to leave, when they tell her she can go, and her father's like, no, I can't do this to my daughter. And then he dies. It's like...
Well, he dies, quote unquote. I'm pretty sure, and Sun's pretty sure the brother killed him.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. I didn't say suicide.
Oh,
okay. He dies, but
he
like...
dies,
That whole twist in that story and whatnot. Oh man,
she was another. You know how I said like the thing with the Leto in the beginning was like a big surprise. How like that, like, oh, he was a movie star and he wasn't like some weird
cheesy outlaw.
Hitman, from like an old school Robert Rodriguez movie, which I love. Also Desperado and stuff like that. He was like the Antonio Banderas, But at first, when you first see Sun, she's like on a rooftop, and it looks like it's like a garden rooftop, and she's doing Tai Chi and stuff like that. There was that little part of me that was like, oh wow, stereotypical Asian character, of course, doing some sort of martial arts in a garden on a rooftop, wherever. I was just like, yawn, but then she ends up being a pit fighter.
Kicking butt. That's pretty awesome.
Like that was cool. Her. I mean,
she's
is
so
like
confident.
She is, yeah.
That one part where he's like, "Oh my God, there's 4 guards," and she's like, "Only 4," and she goes out of the corner. And
that
she goes
was
and
cool.
takes them all down.
Yeah, right?
Or when she freaking helps Caffeus, I don't know how many times with those the Nairobi gangsters who have guns and machetes, and she is taking them down simultaneously.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love it.
So she is still in a way she's like, she's the Asian martial artist. Wow, that's original. But her whole story arc with her family and going to prison and stuff like that. And her
really master's in economics.
Yeah,
and she's CFO of a
so
huge multi-million-dollar company. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so and that's what it was. Every character I felt like in their own way was just super dynamic and multi-layered, and I don't know. I appreciated the drama. I appreciated the depths of the characters and stuff like that. I really liked it. And
I need to know if Kala and Wolfgang end up together. We don't know. She witnesses him murdering people.
His uncle, specifically.
And that's, I'm sure, nothing like she's ever seen before or ever had to experience like before. And he straight out tells her, you need to marry him because this is why you can't like be with me. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh my God, it broke my heart. I'm like, no, they're so cute together. Oh, yeah, okay. So there's a lot of stuff. There's lots of stuff that they left hanging that we need to figure out.
Yeah.
I think what I most recently read is they have not yet renewed it for a second season. So
it's
maybe
at like 4 stars on Netflix, so that's pretty good.
I thought it would be higher again, but oh man, they need to renew it, and they need to judge up all the past of all the other characters they didn't get to.
It's risky though, like we were saying. What did you say? It took them 7 months to film this.
Yeah,
7 months. I mean, I don't know what it's like. Like a film, I think the average film shoot for like a big budget Hollywood production is it 90
days?
90 days?
60,
Yeah.
90 days. And then for a television show, it's like, what, 10 days?
Oh, per episode?
For a weekly television show, I think it's like 7 to 10 days.
Per episode?
Yeah.
So this was a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
Um,
God, I want more of it though. It got so good that at the end, the last couple episodes were just phenomenal. To where like, yes, I absolutely want more of this show.
So, let's say it doesn't get renewed. Was there enough closure to still recommend it to people? Like, you can watch this, you can enjoy it, and you can kind of get this arc does sort of...
Absolutely. They did kind of come full circle. Yeah, the main focus of it did get not closed up, but it did come to some sort of conclusion.
Yeah, like, I felt good about the way that it ended.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's lots of potential for fan fiction.
Oh God,
limitless fan fiction potential.
Yeah.
Here's the thing I was thinking about also is, let's say this doesn't get a season 2 live action adaptation. I feel like everything's so established here that if somebody wanted to run with like a comic book series on it, like there's enough lore,
absolutely,
and cool stuff
and
going on. It'd be super easy to do a graphic novel or a comic book to continue it.
Which I would love as well.
I would love it too.
Oh man, if they didn't do a series, but they did a graphic novel. Heck yeah! Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm wrapping up. I think the last thing I want to mention is we already mentioned it before, but I think my favorite scene was, like you said, when they realize they can all hear and see each other, and they're singing that Four Non Blondes song, and they're all singing it where they are. I think that's my favorite scene in the whole series.
Me too.
There's tons of other ones, but that one's just like, it's emotional and it's awesome and sweet but uplifting and just like, I don't know. You have to watch. You have to watch the first couple episodes and then see that and see how they're interacting and how they're feeling each other. I just thought that was incredible.
I just feel like that the fact that they chose that song in particular for that moment in that film was perfect, because like I was telling you, for me that song takes me back to being a young boy and just like that weird place in life with hanging out with like cousins and playing Nintendo 64 and all sorts of... There were a lot of really good musicals like kind of moments in the series. I felt like really kind of powerful songs potentially evoking emotion in the us as like viewers, as well as like then obviously the characters in the show and stuff like that. But
what other band? You said Sigur Rós. How do you pronounce that?
Oh, Sigur Rós. They were in the they're part of the credits song, like when the credits began rolling, and that whole scene before that, which every single song they write is epic and emotional and powerful and stuff like that. And
the music,
I believe they're
really
Icelandic also, which was kind of cool that they chose that for that moment. But yeah, I guess we said it in the beginning, but I'm sure there's a million things you can pick apart this series for. Probably a billion inconsistencies with shot structure and stuff like that. You know what? If you just go in wanting to enjoy this, I think there's a lot of good stuff there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna mention one thing.
Yeah, go on.
There is another scene that I really love. Now it's probably my second favorite scene. When Jonas is talking to Will and he's first trying to explain to him like what they are, and he's like, what are we? So are we human? Are we not human? And he's like, evolution happens slowly. And he's like, what is it to be human? Is it to feel? Is it emotion? Is it to think? Is it to react with other people and have relationships? He's like, well, then we're more human than anybody else.
Yes.
Because of the way we interact. Oh my God, I love that line. That was like mind-blowingly like, oh my God, science thing, emotion, like I don't know, it just, when he said it was like, wow, it was powerful. That's the word. It was a very powerful conversation that he was having with him about this is what humanity is, and we're more human for what we feel and think and share with each other. And I was like, oh, that's beautiful. Good writing.
There was a lot of good writing in
there
this.
Was I was like, that's like probably my second favorite scene. I just want to throw that in there. It was amazing.
Like we were saying also, like this whole series would have fallen apart if the actors hadn't done such like a standout job with each and every single one of their characters and performances and stuff like that. Yes,
because the writing, a lot of it was great, but a lot of it was kind of cheesy.
It was but they ran just so. What am I trying to say? Is every line that was mediocre, you could tell they poured their soul into it, and like those mediocre lines were believable. Also,
they did a really great job. I don't think there was the only person besides Jonas, who was former Saeed, and I think Kala's dad. I don't think I knew any. Oh, and the son who was from Cloud Atlas. But again, that's like the only minor role I know her. I don't think I knew any of their actors. Like, I was not like, oh, this person's from that person, and I'm only envisioning that character. Like, I didn't, like, pigeonhole them to be the character they were in something else, which I really liked. So, but I mean, if you're, I don't know, well-versed in German feature films or Mexican telenovelas, then, like, you'll pinpoint these actors. But I really liked that it was an ensemble of people that I was not familiar with.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, good acting. They did great with what they had.
Yeah.
So. That's it. I'm done.
Anything else? Yeah. If you guys have any, strong thoughts about the series one way or another, feel free to shoot us an email, info@ThirtyAndNerdy.com. We really want to hear from you, or, leave us comments. That's one thing I want to say thank you for is, like, we check the, YouTube and SoundCloud and everywhere else we can, and we see that we're, like, getting plays and downloads and stuff like that. So thank you guys for the support and, listening to us blab on about this kind of stuff.
I'm always in shock
so cool
when we see, like, it's got 100 downloads. I'm like, really? 100 different people are listening to this?
Yeah.
So ramble on about who knows what.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're gonna there's probably gonna be a lot of changes happening with, like, the just the website and stuff like that, just in the future and stuff like that. Real life, as we like to call it's gonna catch up with us here real quick. But
hopefully podcasts will be the one thing that stays consistent, if not even more so than anything else, more than articles, more than media. Podcasts will probably be ruling our time. Yeah, so if 30nerdy.com becomes a Pokemon documentary and a huge ongoing podcast series and stuff like that, then, we appreciate your support more than ever, and just know that, it really, really brightens up our days when we see, like, the occasional comment or, definitely the numbers and stuff like that. So thank you very much. And if you have any suggestions on podcast ideas that you would like to send us, that you would like us talked about, or have any questions or opinions about stuff, feel free to, again, write us at info@30nerdy, message us on Facebook, tweet us at Twitter. Any form, any way you want to communicate with us, just let us know.
Yeah, we got that Twitter, we got that YouTube, we got that Facebook,
got that Twitter,
got that Twitter,
the tweeter.
Yeah, and so okay, last plug. We just got back from filming in Utah and Wisconsin at the Pokemon Regionals, and we're still working on the documentary and blah 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 blah. And we did a podcast on, like, the Seattle journey. And so at some point we are also going to record a big podcast about Utah and Wisconsin and road trips again and Pokemon stuff and
experiences and just all kinds of stuff.
Card games and
and hotels.
Crazy nuts. Yeah, so that part 2 monstrosity is coming at some point.
Yes.
We just really wanted to talk about this because we were really excited about watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
Nope, I'm good. Find us at Etsy, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Pinterest, on Tumblr.
Yeah.
Anything, everything. YouTube, Facebook, all that fun stuff.
E3's coming up also. I'm really excited about that. We could go on and on, though.
Yeah. We could go on and on. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much. So for 30andnerdy.com, I'm Matt.
And I'm Gina.
And this has been our Sense8 Podcast.
Dun, dun, dun.
Telenovela.